Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And as I enter the debate, it would be remiss of me not to wish the members of this House a Happy New Year, entering late as I may be. Madam Speaker, I am entering the debate as a member of the House of Representatives, hoping to be a voice for the constituents of Tabaquite, duly elected as I am. And this motion, this matter of the extension of the state of emergency, is something that should capture the attention of all of our citizens in the Great Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. You see, Madam Speaker, when you are discussing a state of emergency, and it is unfortunate for the people of Trinidad and Tobago that we've had to have this discussion so many times, because it means that our state, for one reason or another, is in some space of unrest. And at this time, we are talking about a state of emergency with respect to a particular problem that has plagued our nation, and that is the problem of crime. And, Madam Speaker, in the discussion of a state of emergency, you are saying, the government is saying or asking the population for an increase in its power, which means a decrease in the power of the citizens or the rights of the citizens. So a temporary increase in its power to solve a particular problem. And I think that we have to cut beyond the rhetoric for today's debate on the 3-month extension as to what is really the question facing parliamentarians now. So if, on one hand, you have accepted that a state of emergency is required for the safety and security of the people of Trinidad and Tobago at this time, if you've accepted that, which my understanding is that the debate before we've accepted that as a reality, and if you have accepted that the crime problem requires some sort of increased attention, some increased focus at that a state of emergency, and by all accounts, looking on at the press statements made by the business community, statements by citizens, something that is welcomed by the citizens. The question facing us is whether or not a 3-month extension is justified. That is the simple question facing us here today. And so if you have already accepted that the state of emergency is required at this time, the question of the 3-month extension, in my mind, must be put under clear focus as to how, at the end of the 3-month extension, are you determining the success of this extreme action? The member for Port of Spain North St. Anne's West stated that a state of emergency is not an action that should be taken lightly. It is not something that the government will put into force lightly. So therefore, if you are saying that it is some unorthodox and urgent action, and you're saying to the population that you need 3 more months to make it a success, you have to tell us what you are using to measure the success. Now, I waited for the Minister of National Security to enter the debate because I was hoping that the Minister of National Security would give us the clarifying point as to how are we going to determine whether this increased state power has indeed benefited the citizens in the manner in which the government intended. If you are looking at murder numbers, for example, because that's so the Minister of National Security listed that the state of emergency has been a success thus far because the murder numbers thus far have been reduced. So if you're looking at murder numbers, then you're saying to the citizens that for this time period, from December 31st until 3 months from today, that we're looking at the number of murders as a success or failure of this increased state power via a state of emergency. If you're looking for a reduction in crime in its totality, you have to say that to us. But more importantly, what you have to say to us is that if you are taking this increased state power as you are for 3 months, in that time period, what you ought to be doing is fixing all of the other problems so that at the end of these 3 months, we are not facing the same problem as we are today. And so that the population, I think, would be very comfortable with the idea that the population is comfortable with the idea that we can temporarily reduce our rights. Those of us who are law-abiding citizens are very comfortable, I believe, to say that we are willing to temporarily, conditionally increase state power so that we can have maximum public good, maximum benefit to the public, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And so my intervention here today, Madam Speaker, it's really to say that if you're asking for 3 months, in the wind-up, in the communication in the coming months, you have to tell us what the plan is so that at the end of these 3 months, we have not wasted our time, we have not wasted our confidence as citizens in extending the power of the state for a brief time period. And the Minister of National Security raised as well that the state of emergency is meant to will increase the powers of the police. And so we were expecting more from the TTPS as well as members of the Defense Force during this state of emergency as it is. And there is an opportunity here as well for the government to understand that increasing powers alone will not give you the solution that you're looking for. Because if you're increasing powers, you're increasing workload, you're increasing a space, you also have to increase your support for the members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as well as the Defense Force, or you will not reap the rewards that you are seeking. Because you cannot simply say, you can act faster, you can reduce the time for act without the warrants, etc. But if you do not have the manpower on hand or the equipment required, if you do not have things like bulletproof vests, you are not going to be able to act in the manner that you're hoping to get the results that you are. So again, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago will be willing to say, you may have 3 more months of extended power, but in that 3 more months, you must give us extended service. You must show us with this increased power that you have equipped those necessary to execute the power that you are giving them, that you're giving them the tools necessary. And Madam Speaker, in the context of a state of emergency, and in a context of putting a stopgap in this rampant crime that we are seeing, because citizens are fearful. There is no doubt in my mind. I, as a citizen, I am also afraid, because when you are going from point A to point B, you aren't even certain that you will make it home. And when you are home, you are not sure that you are safe. So that you want the success of any administration when it comes to a crime situation. But, Madam Speaker, there will be no success in crime if there are no consequences for action. So that you can look up how many other people you want under the state of emergency. If you are not leading to convictions, if there are no consequences for committing crime in Trinidad and Tobago, you would have accomplished nothing in 15 days or in 3 months. And that will remain a fact. So, Madam Speaker, I've entered this debate very briefly to say 2 things. I have no difficulty stating that you may have increased power for up to 3 months, but it is a conditional acceptance on what you deliver to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That our job and our role as parliamentarians is to form a check on executive power. That check on executive power requires us to pay close attention to not just what you say, but also what you do. So in the announcement of a state of emergency, in the conclusion of this debate, tell us as the people of Trinidad and Tobago, how are we determining the success of increased state power for up to 3 months from today? And if you can tell us that clearly, we will then judge you accurately at the end of the state of emergency as to whether or not you have succeeded for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And I thank you.